Focusing on British Columbia, yesterday the RCMP confirmed one woman died as the municipality of Summerland was evacuated.
It's devastating how fast it moved and how little notice we had. Nobody's seen anything like this. Nobody could ever imagine anything like this.
Today, there are over 600 active wildfires across the country, with 42 to be considered out of control. This year alone, more than 40,000 square kilometers have burned. That's nearly the size of mainland Nova Scotia. Mike Flannigan is an expert on fire management at Thompson Rivers University in British Columbia. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to start by asking you, what makes Canada's forest fires uniquely challenging?
So there's three ingredients for a wildfire. Vegetation, fire people call it fuel, how much, what type, how dry. Second, ignition, people and lightning. And third, hot, dry, windy weather. You get all three, you get a wildfire. And we have lots of fuel, lots of vegetation in Canada. Our boreal forest stretches from sea to sea to sea, and it's primed to burn. It's actually, the fire ecology of that is to burn. And we have lots of lightning, and unfortunately we have human-caused fires, and at times we have extreme fire weather, and we're seeing more and more extreme fire weather because of climate change. And we're seeing a lot more fire in British Columbia and in Canada. You mentioned we're just over 4 million hectares, twice the size of Lake Ontario. It used to be 1 million hectares in the early 1970s, so we've quadrupled our area burn, and this is largely, not solely, due to human-caused climate change.
So when you take that into consideration about the unique challenges when it comes to forest fires in Canada, how would you characterize the way that evacuation orders are implemented or carried out at this point?
So evacuations, emergency management, it has different phases: prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, recovery. Some people include review. Evacuations, it's different all across the country depending on what jurisdiction you're in. And there's a local community, sometimes the province, the territory, Indigenous nations, and it varies across the country. But the sooner you're aware of the situation, the sooner you can respond. And the Bald Range fire was the explosive fire. They did not have much time, and people started evacuating by themselves once they saw the smoke plume. But officially, for Summerland, they started knocking on doors around midnight and after midnight to tell people to get out. And, it was prudent that they did.
The way you sort of described the system as it exists now, it's sort of a patchwork of options when it comes to, getting people to evacuate their communities. Do you think that there needs to sort of be a broader standard evacuation procedure to have better and safer outcomes?
So I can tell you that, of all the major fire reviews done in the last decade, going back to Fort McMurray or even earlier, communication is central recommendation. And here we are a decade later, and we're still saying the same sort of thing. We have to do a better job. Part of it's governance. Some things are controlled by the community. Some things are provincial and some things are federal, but we need to be on the same page. We need unified command, and it's coming, but we still have to do a better job. We have alerts on our cell phones. Your cell phone just went off, but that's not enough. I think we still need to use new school with old school. And I'll give you an example: sirens. Tornado Alley still uses sirens. Tsunami warnings, they still use sirens. Maybe we should be looking at sirens for high-risk locations, whether it's fires or floods, hurricanes, what have you, so that we can be even better prepared. But, it's a challenge.
You say that, for a decade now, these concerns have been raised and there has not been necessarily the change that you think is necessary. Why do you think there are roadblocks in this situation to make these things happen, given how we are seeing summer after summer after summer, the way that wildfires spread across Canada?
So blame it on Confederation. Okay, fire management is the responsibility of the landowner. So we have 10 provinces, 3 territories, and Parks Canada doing fire management. And they have some common features that allow them to share resources like crews, equipment, but they all do things differently. So it's a challenge to get everyone on the same page. But we have to do this. I'd like to say that 2026 is a litmus test. 2023 was a record-breaking, record-smashing year. 2024 was active. 2025 was really active, gave 2023 a run for its money. And I always used to say we get quiet years and active years. Now I'm rethinking that, and that every year is going to be a bad fire year. And 2026 is once again a very impactful year. So we've had 4 in a row. In our modern day record, we didn't even have 3 in a row, but now it's 4. So that's why I'm changing my tune. Regionally, yes, next year it could be really quiet in British Columbia and Ontario, but Canada is such a large country, and because we're seeing more extreme weather, somewhere in Canada, it's going to burn every fire season.
The way you describe that as, as someone who studies this for a living, and you talk about, this appears to be the new normal. How does it feel as someone who's made this your life's work to have to change your tune and say something like that?
So I prefer the term new reality because normal sounds like a steady state, and we're on a trajectory and it's downward, and sometimes I use Dante's circles of hell, and sometimes I don't know if we're in the 3rd or 4th cycle, but we're going down, all right? So yeah, I mean, a colleague and I, Mike Weber, wrote a paper in the 90s saying urgent action is needed now to deal with climate change. And here it is, almost 30 years later, I'm saying the same thing. And it's time to take action. And, I'm going to be blunt here. Building pipelines is not the answer, okay? It's actually putting nails in our coffin. We need to be on renewables and get off fossil fuels as quickly as possible.
Do you feel like the conversation around climate change in Canada has shifted so dramatically because the country is so focused on trying to stabilize the economy in the face of an unprecedented trade war?
So possibly. You can ask your pundits about that question, but I do know that fire is bringing the conversation back to climate change because as we warm, our fire seasons are getting longer, we're seeing more lightning, and we're seeing the atmosphere drying out the fuels. It's a tinderbox in southern British Columbia right now. And it's easy for a fire to start, whether it's a lightning strike or human caused. And the fuels dried out so much, it's explosive. And that's the term used in the bald range fire, and that's appropriate. It grew from 0 to 1,000 hectares in an hour. And that's just an incredible rate of growth. And these are the type of things that our fire management agencies have to deal with. And I don't see an end in sight. Our fires are burning into and through the night in a way they never have in the past. We're seeing more fire-generated thunderstorms. We call them pyrocumulonimbus. And these firestorms you cannot fight. You just get out of the way. And Jasper burned down because of the result of a pyrocumulonimbus. So this is our new world, our new reality. And it's largely because of human-caused climate change.
Mike Flannigan with Thompson Rivers University in British Columbia, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.